Welcome back to Seen It Before, where we're probably going to say something stupid about your favorite movie because we've seen it all before. I'm Danny.
I'm Dan. Today, we're watching the, I honestly hope, final Creed movie, Creed 3.
What the hell, man?
What do you mean, what the hell, man?
What? This franchise can never end.
Well, it ended for Stallone.
In a good way,
It ended for Stallone. Spoiler alert. So
well, we'll get into
He's
that.
not dead. That's not a spoiler. He's not dead. He's just written off.
Yeah, he almost died in the first one, right? He got cancer and stuff.
He almost died in the first one. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's get some housekeeping done. We're Seen It Before. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok with the handle at Seen It Beforecast. That's SCENE, It Beforecast. And on Twitter with the handle SIB_pod. Yeah. We got a guest today for Creed 3. This is Kylie. Kylie, you've been on a few times here.
Of course.
Kind of a veteran here.
You were actually
podcast.
on the first episode of Seen It Before ever.
Yes.
The Scream double feature.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, technically season 4 because we lumped in movie drunks, but yeah.
That was a huge honor. And,
It's an honor.
That's what we started. We started that.
Yeah.
We still
I
do
forgot
that.
about that.
Yes.
That quote.
It's our sign off.
Yes.
But yeah, so Creed 3. Excited to talk about this one. We'll get a little more into that in just a second. But let's get right into it. Let's do a little non-spoiler review. We haven't really done too many of those, but this movie, I think we could probably do that with it. Michael B. Jordan directs it. It's his directorial debut. I think he does a solid job. He gets us into the movie right away. He sets up the flashback very nice with Dame and Donnie.
Dame and Donnie.
Bianca. The camera movement is really fluid, really well done throughout most of the movie, and the script is sure to please lots of people who know what to get out of this franchise. To me, what are you?
Yeah, I think it was pretty good. You know, I think I like this movie, the Creed, out of the Creed franchise. This is probably my favorite. Which I'll get into, but it mostly has to do with the villain and how they handled him in the writing and in the performance, obviously. Jonathan Majors blows it away, and it's a great return to form from what I was expecting in Kang, which, you know, go to that episode if you want to figure that out. My thoughts about that.
Quantumania, yeah.
But yeah, Michael B. Jordan, I feel like he doesn't have his own style yet. This is his directorial debut. He'll get, the more he does, he'll get his own defined style. But right now he's kind of doing like the boxing movie thing.
He had a nice, easy script to work with. So I think there's a lot of room for him to play in this one and try and get his style right.
Yeah.
So it kind of works pretty well.
Pretty good. Recommend it.
Now, for a recap on the Creed franchise, Adonis Creed, Apollo's son. Mm-hmm. Apollo was killed in the ring. In the first, well, not in the first one, in Rocky 4?
Rocky 4, yeah. He gets killed by Drago. Yeah, and then that's the whole, like...
That's the whole plot of the second one, but let's go back to the first one.
Yeah.
So the first one, he meets Stallone, or Rocky, Jesus. Meets Rocky.
They're basically the
Rocky's
same.
kind of
They're the same
like,
thing.
just retired, working at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
you said you remembered this.
Well,
you're like, and then...
Yeah, I watched it like a week ago, all right?
Okay.
Yeah, so basically he fights Pretty Boy Ricky Conlon, gets his ass beat, wins the second time, right? Yeah, no.
I assume he would win at the end.
No, he does win at the end. I forgot. Yeah. He faces somebody in the middle. I forget who he faces in the middle of that movie.
Stuntman.
Yeah. I was mainly only set on Pretty Boy Ricky Conlon. Going to prison, last match ever, whatever. Second one.
Ivan Drago comes out from the weeds after being defeated by Rocky in Rocky 4.
With his son.
With his son this time, and his whole, I love the dichotomy in that one where it's like, Creed already proved himself in the first one. Mm-hmm. Now he has to fight somebody who's trying to prove himself.
Yeah.
With making up for the sins of his father and redemption arc
like
for him.
2 times bigger than him. He's friggin' huge.
Oh, yeah. He's he's a monster.
Got to tire him out. He got a big reach on him. Yeah.
But yeah, he beats the shit out of him in like the midpoint fight. Yeah. Like destroys him. He's like, oh.
That's the theme I want to go back to, because going into 3, there were some pretty brutal moments.
I like Rocky has his own kind of mini arc in each of these movies where he's like, I thought it was so interesting to see Rocky as the mentor now in the first Creed, and now in the second one he's making up with the his own problems with his son with it's very like whole thing he's got this father son thing with Creed with Donnie.
Yeah.
And then now he's actually transmitting that to his actual son because he's like, yeah, I know I messed up, but let's forgive me, please.
You been doing this all day?
Maybe.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, that's a good little recap we got going on here. Let's get into this.
Creed
this
the Third.
Creed 3.
Creed the Third.
Creed 3. So let's start with the visuals of this movie. So I really, really liked all the camera work in this movie, especially when Donnie in the very first fight with Donnie, and he's facing Pretty Boy Ricky Conlon again.
Yep.
So he's fighting him, and then he's looking for weaknesses, and I like the way the camera kind of like goes this way and that way and everything. I was like, oh, I like that, and then he eventually just.
Yeah, they did the Sherlock thing. I'm not sure if you've seen
I remember
that show.
Sherlock. Yeah, that's what it means.
We see him thinking, setting up a pattern. So he's messing with Ricky in the beginning. He's like, hey, I'm doing this, and I'm seeing a weakness. I'm letting it sit out there until it's time to strike. But you see it go through Donnie's head. So I thought that was really cool directing.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting.
I agree. It's very well done.
I found myself like wincing a lot. Like I very guttural, like ugh. Like I'm the one that got hit.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really well done. That even the audience could feel watching, like they were getting punched in the gut or in the side or wherever.
Yeah, this guy leaned over to me at one point. He's like, "Oh, is it too early to say sound design for next year?"
Because it was really good.
Dude, it's every Rocky and Creed movie. They all sound amazing, and they never get nominated.
I wouldn't say the originals sound that
okay,
great.
so the Creed ones, all three of the Creed ones sound great.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like I think they had to have gotten nominated.
I don't know if they were, man.
If they're this good, because it was really good this time, But it's that boxing movie.
I could look it up, but I don't feel like looking it up.
We don't have any fucking internet, so that's fun.
Well, I'm not even on the internet right now because it doesn't load. So
yeah.
Anyway,
Crazy.
So back to the. So right before that fight with Pretty Ricky Conlon, we got a little flashback of Dame and Donnie when they were kids and how they kind of went to these underground boxing matches in the middle of the night or whatever. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they were really good friends. They actually looked out for each other. They were bros. It was great.
We was brothers.
Until, there's an inciting incident where basically Donnie beats the shit out of somebody.
Yeah, he's like, Leon, fuck you. Fucking like 0 to 100, like, whoa.
And we're all questioning like, why?
Like, who's this guy?
Who's this guy?
Yeah.
And they kind of just like reveal that throughout the movie. So yeah, and yeah, Damien pulled the gun.
He's got
on
a gun,
his goons,
gets arrested.
and
then his whole life, his whole promising boxing, future is ruined.
And Donnie ran away. But there's one thing I noticed. Like remember they all put their hands up, and like the cops are right there. How did Donnie get away? How did he run away from that? Doesn't make any sense to me right there. That kind of just that slipped by, I guess.
Yeah, a little messed up.
Yeah,
a
little hiccup, but
Continuity, and that was.
it's all right. I mean,
not that great.
it didn't take away too much. It took away from me, but like that's just me noticing things. I noticed, and that's gonna be a theme of this. I noticed a lot of things this way that I
if only you were this critical about Marvel movies.
I know, right? Except I wasn't even trying to think critically. It's like that's. I was like, wow, that's weird. That's gonna happen. That's gonna happen.
Yeah, you called out kind of the twist in the middle.
Called out two things. I'm just like, oh, his mom's probably gonna die.
Well, yeah, I was like, I'm not having a stroke today. Or
it's like, wow, that's really obvious.
Yeah, you're gonna die by the end of this movie.
20 minutes later, she's a stroke.
Like, oh no, who saw it coming?
And then Damien paying that dude to hit Drago and fracture his skull. I called that one too.
Yep.
Like I bet.
Love how much of a beast Drago is though. He just he's because he's in the sparring or in the training montage later. And he's just like, you good? Yeah, I'm good. It's like you just got fucking Billy clubbed. Like
they became somewhat friends.
It's like the Dragon Ball Z effect, where it's like Goku defeats a villain, and then the next movie they're friends. Same thing with
that's one thing I want to mention. Michael B. Jordan's a huge anime guy. I'm assuming he took that inspiration from all that stuff.
That's great. I like it. Yeah.
It worked really well in that aspect.
I respect you. We're friends now.
Yeah. Yep.
I want to get into the Dame. he is by far the best character in this movie, I think.
Oh, easily.
And I love how like they root his whole kind of thing in the past. The event happens with Donnie beating up that guy. He looks out for him. He's like, and, his future, because he was on the road to being the champion, that got taken away from him. Sure, because of his own actions. That's the whole point of the movie, But, it's guilt, and it's missing that opportunity. He's like, oh, if I didn't make that one decision, his whole life ruined, And then and then seeing Creed, Donnie, rise above everything. And I can see how he's like, I understand that,
Dane plays this sob story he plays really well into Donnie's thinking of him too, because he felt bad because he ran away and didn't go to jail too.
Yeah, he's using that to his. So that's what makes him a villain.
Manipulation, baby.
But like, it's not entirely born of like malice. He's not like furious at Donnie. No. He's just lost. Because he's like, I missed this opportunity, and you took my shot,
and now he's running out of time.
Yeah. His clock's ticking, and he just needs to do that thing. That's his whole thing, Yeah. So, yeah, it's like I have this potential, and it's like I can't prove myself. That's
exactly. Let's see here.
I was gonna add to what Danny was saying. So I loved how his character was written. I thought he was, definitely by far the best character in the movie. But that's a testament to how his character was written, because you feel sorry for Damien. But honestly, if you were to tell Damien, if you knew a Damien in your life, they'd probably knock you the fuck out.
Yeah, probably.
If you were like, hey, I feel sorry for you, and you felt pity for this guy, he would knock you on your ass. But I wanted to hate him, but I found myself really liking him. And you want a movie that's going to show sympathy for the bad guy. Mm-hmm. It's what all the best movies do.
AKA Thanos in Infinity War.
Yeah, because you definitely understand where he's coming from. That's the best types of villains,
Yeah.
Joker's the only really exception, and then they even explain
chaos,
that.
Though, so.
Yeah, so like Dark Knight, he's fucking awesome in that. You don't understand what the fuck, why he's doing any of it. But Joker, the movie Joker, obviously we see what happens. Like,
yes. Let's see. So speaking of the writing, this movie was written by Keenan Coogler, Ryan's brother, and so cool. He's
keeping in the family a little bit.
Yep, and also this other guy, Zach Balin, who's directing the Gran Turismo movie later this year. Writing it, not directing it.
Chris, looking at you.
Yeah. So it's the writing of this movie, to me, weakest of the trilogy. Weakest of the trilogy, just because it panders to the audience it's going for. It doesn't take any risks. Okay. It's a very safe script.
Yeah, the thing I understand. It's predictable. It's predictable.
That's an understatement.
When it comes to the plot.
Yeah,
but it's like they came up with the premise of this. This conflict in guilt, and it almost writes itself.
Yes.
So, and they don't go too much beyond the plot ways of it. The character development, I think, is really good, though.
I agree with that, because they also talk about what's her face, Bianca, and how she's trying to get through to Donnie too, and just like, you need to talk to someone, you need to like get out of your head and everything, which would have been a nice move when his mom died. Have Stallone come in. And just
I wanted to, I'm disappointed Stallone's just not involved. He literally built the thing. Like, he started all this. He wrote the script when he was broke. He was dirt poor, and this is his last shot. He sold his fucking dog to make this movie, the first one, and it's just unfortunate that's how the system works. He sold the property, and now they have the option, and they did exclude him from this project. I hate that that's the way it was, and it's sad to hear like he's like disowning it anyway. Like, he said he's not going to watch this movie, and like it's just a real bummer, man.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
yeah, but he on the silver lining though, they did give him a great exit for his character, at least
the second one.
Second one, he's made up with his son. made amends with Paulie and at their graves, Paulie and Adrian.
Yep.
So great ending for him there, and I like the thematics of like this is now it's Donnie's story. They handed it off. They had 2 movies to transition, and now it's Donnie's franchise now. So
true. And then his daughter Amaya, I really liked her in this movie too. She was really well written, really well done.
So
she shows his heart, like that. She is his heart, basically.
Yeah.
And she's also a fighter, as they said at the end of the second one. Oh, she's a fighter. She's definitely a fighter.
Just like Reba.
What?
Like she got the heart of a fighter, Reba.
Oh, I did not get that at all. Okay.
So how much you want to bet this franchise is going to just do like $1 Million Baby, kind of like like Adonis is Clint Eastwood, and
3 movies
Hilary
down the
Swank
line.
is, I don't know his daughter's actress name, but anyway, I could definitely
I
see
hope
that.
not. It seems like Donnie's done. It seems like
He did
himself.
retire, and then he came out of retirement.
And now he's going to retire again, I think.
They've already used the coming out of retirement stick,
But where do we go from here, though?
Well, let's not get to that just yet. There's still more of this movie we got to talk about.
Right.
But, yeah, so, what?
No, it's just like It's like I love how we're like in this like oh they're gonna keep it going, right? What's next? Like because we just assume, but they ended it really well. Like
Let's hold off on that for just a second. Let's talk about this other guy, Felix, who is training at the gym with Duke and Donnie. Jesus,
Duke and Donnie.
They run the gym now. So
Dookie.
He's like, what the fuck are you saying to me?
So Felix is their top fighter, and then Dame comes in, basically nobody off the street, kind of like Donnie, and he's just kind of like there to spar with Felix.
Yeah, and then of course he takes it too far.
And then they're at the party, and that's when Drago gets hit over the head by the dude that Dame paid.
I like that they kind of alluded to like Donnie's probably going to end up being like a Don King type person, and then so now we're seeing like the boxing management kind of politics that these got to do. It's like we're going to arrange this fight, save it for the ring,
Yeah. So then they arranged the fight between Felix and Dame.
Yeah, and I like
dirty. It's a dirty fight.
Yeah, I like this whole like undercurrent where it's like you see Donnie kind of going into that like he's like. The contrast between where he came from, and Dame represents that, and where he is now, it seems like he's like just naturally he just seems like really slimy, and like he might have lost his principles.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's really established because I like when they did that with Rocky too. It's like I love Rocky. He's the underdog. You see him like all dirty, and he's just getting by and he's doing his thing, and he's humble. And once you reach that top, are you going to be as humble? Probably not. And like, I like how they subtly show that in like how he's dressing, how a little bit how he's acting, So he's got to kind of come back and find himself in this movie. It's great,
Agreed. Yeah, definitely. I also noticed there are like a lot of these emotional beats in the movie. It's a lot slower of a story than the other Creed movies.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just because like there's a lot more time for dialogue, less fighting. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it necessarily takes away from the story. Actually, no. It basically develops the story more. It doesn't.
We get to see the characters breathe. You understand where they're coming from.
Finally, because
the subtext.
Like the first one, I think the second was just basically all fighting. The first one had room to breathe as well and develop the characters, which is what it should do.
Oh my God, Creed 2 is exactly like that episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Frank trains D.
Oh,
and then to fight his rival's daughter.
Yep.
Also, $1 Million Baby.
Yeah,
reference.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. I love that show, man. Yeah, that's great. It tries to do a lot of things when it comes to like what it is to be a man, a father, and especially a brother.
Yeah, a lot of good themes.
They really hammer home the brother aspect, obviously, because that's where all the root of the dramas, is. They try to throw in this thing where, like, he's getting involved, or Amara's getting involved in fights in school, and like, oh, Donnie, you're an awful father. You're training her to fight first instinct.
Didn't go anywhere.
Didn't get it fleshed out as much as I would like it to. Yeah,
like it came back at the end a little bit, but like not really. I mean,
well, like I don't understand. I must have missed it. I don't see it. I didn't really see any like resolution between Donnie and Bianca when it came to that. It's just kind of like Donnie's like, oh, I'll train you in secret, and then like it was like it was just done. You know. When that's like the whole thing that Bianca doesn't want to happen, and then like they're fake fighting in the ring at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah. So it's like, did I miss something?
I don't think you missed anything. I just don't think it was there.
Yeah.
Well, he like finally opens up to Bianca though at the wake of his mother.
Yeah,
she's just like as a woman watching this movie, like I could see the frustration with like Bianca, and she just wanted someone. She just wanted him to talk to someone. Like you said, if it wasn't her, then someone else, someone he felt comfortable with. And the chemistry between Bianca and Adonis is so good, except for when you actually get to see the conflict and how their parenting style is different. So Bianca obviously doesn't want all of Adonis's conflicts to be resolved with violence. And so I think she was just so desperately trying to say, just let it out. But like, he was like doing like he was like half bottling it up and half just getting angry. So he didn't really seem to know how to like control his emotions like outside of the ring. And it's interesting because when he was talking to Amara, he said a piece about, it's not about how hard, it's about control when you're boxing. So I thought that was interesting when I were to think about how that parallels him trying to be a father.
Oh,
and
that's a good thought. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if he were to just take his own advice, I guess, in control and learn how to manage his stuff, I think that's all like Bianca's character was really asking of him, is to like control himself and his emotions.
Yeah.
And not bottle it up, because when you bottle things up, it turns to violence. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's literally a skeleton in his closet came to haunt him because he just pushed it down, right? You know, I bet you things would have been way better if, like, you know, also his mom is a contributing factor to this too.
Right.
Because she kind of, you know, like he didn't reach out, but, you know, she was like, the letters weren't delivered to Donnie. Like, she wanted to forget. I don't know why. Is it just because, like, oh, I don't like that boy. He's a troublemaker, right?
I almost wish that part was fleshed out a little bit more, because, like, that I could have understood that not being fleshed out as much as the other thing she said, with like him having like siblings, like other siblings. Like,
oh yeah,
I was kind of confused by that.
He does have other siblings too. That they've never come into play at all in any of these movies.
I'm still confused in like the relationship of his mom. She's not his actual mom, right?
Right.
Creed Apollo had a one night stand with Lady,
and that's Donnie's mother.
Yeah, and she's out of the picture. And then Apollo's wife, which is
her,
Marianne, she came and adopted Donnie in the first one out of juvie, right? Okay. So when she says brothers and sisters, does she mean actual blood relatives or like Apollo's like other?
No,
you know what I mean?
Apollo has other
or even her kids. I don't know.
Because that to me, it didn't do much for the plot other than like just to demonstrate the relationship further between Damien and Adonis. Because like Damien's the only brother that Adonis seems to really know or even be close to. 'Cause we probably after 3 movies would have seen the other two if they were even remotely close. Be kind of a bad plot point if there were sequels, which there probably will be. It'd probably be a really bad plot point to just be like, oh, by the way, he's got a brother, he's got a sister, and suddenly she's part of the plot. They got to do something like really unique for them to just throw in more family members. Be like almost like a Scream effect where they're just throwing in, oh, so-and-so is related to so-and-so, but it doesn't really go anyway.
It's like the twist at the end is like, I was a secret brother the whole time. Looking at you, Scream 3.
Easy.
But yeah, I want to get to the point with Jonathan Majors, right? Great performance, great character. I think, he's going to go down probably in history as one of the better villains in the Rocky franchise. And the scene that just cemented it for me was right after he wins the title from Felix.
Yep.
And it's just kind of like this heartbreaking thing from going like, he's like a little kid again. He is like, he's like that 13-year-old. He's like, I won! I finally did it! You just see like the proud like go over him, and then he looks at Donnie, and then he's like, aren't you proud of me? Aren't you proud of me, brother?
Oh, you're talking about the beach scene, right?
No, in the ring, right after he wins.
Oh yeah.
He's got both the belts. He's like, I won, and then Donnie's like, to Michael B. Jordan's credit, he's got his own, acting, pretty good acting right there, because it's like you see like a mix of like, I wrote down here, he's like, he's relieved for himself, he's relieved for himself. He's happy for Dame. But also angry for Felix, because he's like, yo, you just fucked up my fighter. I got you set up with this.
Bro.
Yeah. And then, Jonathan Majors, and after he sees that look that Michael B. Jordan gives him, he's just like, you see him deflate, just complete disappointment comes across. Like, oh, fuck. And he's like, because it's like he realizes in that moment, like, he's like, I finally got my shot. I scummed my way into it, I finally made up for it. But then he realized, like, oh, like it's, like, nobody's watching my back. Donnie's looking out for himself more than me. So it just adds a great little twinge to the middle of their arcs. Perfect.
That's a really good point, because Donnie is concerned about its image, and I think that is the catalyst for why he fights. That's the whole reason why he fights Damien in the second half of the movie. If he didn't have his own image to preserve, I think he would have just said, hey, forget about it. But since he's such a notorious figure and other boxers look up to him and he's a celebrity, then by him not fighting Damien and just letting him kind of be a scumbag to him, like, the whole world probably wants him to just take care of Damien, and they honestly probably want to know the juicy details about, like, if I were a character in this world, I would want to know the juicy details. Why does Damien, feel the way that he feels towards Adonis? What are Adonis's faults? Because even celebrities have their shortcomings, and I thought that was a really interesting plot point, because when he appears on the Stephen A. show, First Take, and he's being interviewed, I wanted so badly to know what Adonis was going to say before Damien called him up on the show. But at the same time, it doesn't matter, because the whole point of that scene was to just give him a catalyst to want to fight him and anger him even more.
See, the way that was set up, I feel like he was going to challenge him anyway.
That's fair.
In his way. I feel like that's the way it was going, because that's the whole reason he would have gone on the show in the first place.
Right,
Like,
but it's
I think
more...
he was more doing damage control at that point.
Well, it didn't come off that way to me.
He wanted to antagonize him even more.
Yeah.
Like, he's a dirty fighter, and he's also, like, he's not polished, so he wanted to kind of exploit that and see Adonis lose his cool.
Yeah.
Because Adonis is very polished, and, he's... People haven't seen Adonis go off the rails. Behind the scenes, we see that as a viewer in his family life a little bit, with just like him losing his cool in front of Amara. But in the public eye, we don't see that.
These movies come with their own.
Yes.
Like, if you have to do the Rocky montage, you have to do it in like a cheesy way. Like, that's just the thing. You got to do it.
I've still never seen Rocky 4.
I hate you.
I've only seen 1 and 2.
He defeats communism by punching a guy. Like, how cool is that? Like,
I've only seen 1, 2, and then all the Creeds. But
yeah, those are the really ones that you need to watch. Rocky 4 is just like a super guilty pleasure for like anybody.
Fair point.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the final fight. Real hype coming out. Everything great. Dodger Stadium backdrop, that was pretty cool. Very LA, because it's LA. I really like the moment where, like, it's around between like rounds 3 and like 11, they're in like this
Yeah, they're going to this weird dream kind of.
It's not a dream sequence. It's like what boxers see. They don't see the crowd. They only see the opponent.
Oh, okay.
And that was really cool. I liked that a lot.
I liked the idea of it. I thought it looked really kind of like like kind of student filmish in a way. You know what I mean?
Student filmish. Definitely not filmed in Dodger Stadium.
I just thought
all green screen.
I thought it's something with the cinematography just kind of like lessened in that sequence.
I think that whole final sequence is kind of like the Batman-esque. You know how the final battle for the Batman looked kind of out of place.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, okay.
It was very out of place. It kind of was weird.
It's like in the script, I can totally see how you think it's like, oh, this is a genius idea.
It's a great idea.
Right?
Doesn't really come across that way to the viewer. I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's really cool. But as a former student filmmaker, I'm just like, oh, it's weird. It came off as really weird.
Yeah, it's like that thing. It's like, oh, I hope a student film doesn't start. They have to start it off with the main character waking up in the morning, like, and the alarm clock goes off. I even did that in my autobiography.
I believe that.
You know,
I remember that exact scene. Oh my god.
Oh man.
And the last thing I want to talk about with this scene is, why are they not beat up at the very end?
Yeah, that's kind of like a main thing for a lot of the Rocky movies. I don't think there's anyone, at least in the Rocky franchise, the original movies.
The first one, you definitely could see in the first movie.
Well, there's a whole thing. You gotta cut me, Mick. It's a bulbous thing.
He has made a little punch mark right here.
Yeah,
and it was like, what the fuck? Like, what happened? They don't look like they're beat up at all.
The only reason I think they did that is because there's a whole epilogue scene with both of them, and I think it might have been distracting,
but
maybe a little funny looking. If there's their faces just completely,
it's so
pussy.
Noticeable that it doesn't look like they really fought too much.
It takes it away because they went 12 rounds. You know,
yeah,
you know what I mean.
I mean, they started out the first and second round, and then suddenly we get the whole sequence. Yep. Where they have tunnel vision, and obviously, any athlete, they're not going to see the crowd. They're so fixated on their opponent and what they have to do to defeat them. We get that tunnel vision, and then it was kind of jarring to me because suddenly we go from the second round to the 12th round, and there's no in between. There's no signal of changing rounds at all. Yep. We just jumped 10 rounds, and they went the distance. But you guys were saying,
that doesn't bother me as much as they're not beat up.
No, but
I get what you're saying.
Even though they went the distance and went 12 rounds, you would still be bloodied or whatever. I think Adonis had more facial scarring when he got sucker punched on the beach than when he went 12 rounds at the end of the movie.
True.
So I understand. I definitely think even more because they're not beat up because it the whole first movie is the whole point of it is that he goes the distance. He went the 12 rounds. He was just a rookie. He
had the stamina to do it, yeah.
And that was an amazing thing in the context of that movie. This one is treated as not a big deal. They went 12 rounds. They're in the 12 round.
The champ did it again. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's but that's they kind of glossed over it, and it's you know what I mean? Now that I think about it, it's the importance isn't there for that. And I think, definitely beating them up more, maybe, and on one hand, I totally understand why they did the kind of the dream sequence thing, jumping from round 3 to 11 or whatever, because it's tunnel vision. Athletes are gonna, time flies when you're,
and they're not thinking about anything else but their opponent. Yeah,
yeah, they're really focused. So on one hand, I get it. That's what they're maybe going for, but you're losing the whole aspect of the exhaustion and the complete the odyssey that these guys are going on between a fight, and Rocky 1 really drove that home. So
yeah. Any other thoughts on the movie, guys?
No.
Anything else, you guys?
Stylistically, I really liked what Michael B. Jordan was doing. Obviously he's still trying to find his footing, but the risks that he took, I found that they were innovative, and the way the movie was shot, I don't think there are a lot of movies that are shot like that. I don't know. It almost seemed very high def and glossy. When you were to see Cars, it was like they were right in front of you. Like you were like a character in this world. Like I think I didn't feel like I was watching a movie for a second because of how well movies are shot now. And I thought how cool it was, the decisions that he made, particularly in the ring, when he had the camera kind of pan over to the side of opponents, bodies, and you could see the punch coming around. And that's where I was saying earlier, I felt that guttural.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in that world. You're being punched.
When that what's it called? When they're in the final fight, and Dame is kind of messing with him. He's just like, and then he kind of pokes his head out. He's like, and then Donnie swings, and then he's like, and then you just see like a quick shot of Jonathan Majors' face. He's just like, oh, and he goes, and he just like uppercuts him right in the gut. And you feel that, like, yeah, what you're saying, like, you feel it,
And right after that, when Donnie actually wins, in the prologue, Dame brags to Adonis about using a straight right to take down his opponent, and that's exactly what Michael B. Jordan does at the end. He just, bam, right through. Yeah, it was like the exact move that he uses.
Move against him. I was expecting the whole checkmate thing to kind of come in more than just Creed, because it's like, maybe a potential, like, if I was writing the story, I wouldn't include it, because he gets the checkmate thing from Dame, and then in the first fight where Donnie's retiring, his last fight, or with Ricky Conlon too.
Yeah, pretty Ricky.
He says, "Hey Duke, checkmate," like he just, and then but it's like you would think that like he's trying to push that down, forget about anything that's related to Dame. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, but if we're gonna include that, maybe have that show up in the middle somewhere, or like maybe have Dame do it to Felix,
Yeah.
So missed opportunity there, I think.
Missed opportunity. That's the theme for this movie. That is the theme for this movie. Missed opportunities.
Yeah, but the thing is, when it is in its in its corner, it fucking hits.
Oh yeah,
like, they know what they're doing when it comes to certain things.
I agree.
They miss. It's like they're focused so much on that, and then some other stuff gets kind of lost in the peripheral.
Yep. All right.
The risks they did take definitely pay off. His ambitions as a director, I think he's probably going to get a lot more projects beyond just Creed 4.
Speaking of Creed 4, what's next? What are you guys thinking?
I don't really want there to be another thing unless they have something that I'm not thinking of that's real. I don't know where you would go. You've already done the Ghost from the Past.
So you're agreeing with me that this should be the end?
Yeah. You
didn't in the beginning.
I disagree. I think this is a better movie than you think it is. But they've already done the Living Up to the Father. They've already done Ghost from the Past. They've already done Ghost from the Past, but like more relevant, like more personal. You know what I mean? So where can they go from here? Because Rocky 4 was like it's like a revenge story almost. With this, and then they like, let's think of the most ridiculous fucking person that could fight Rocky, and then I don't think it's right for Donnie to be training a protege already, because we've only had 3 movies with him.
Well, if they're gonna go the route of management, they should make it about a management movie instead, and then like how Donnie manages these fighters and everything, and like how they come across against these other fighters. I don't know. That's the next logical step I think they would have to go in if they were to continue the Creed franchise.
You could, but like on the other hand, it's like it's not really a Rocky movie. Or it'd be very different from like the regular formula if like he were to not be fighting. Like the whole point, really,
If they skip ahead like another 10, 15 years,
like
the whole is fighting.
The whole thing is like you have the subtext of him physically beating somebody up to work out his issues emotionally. Like that's the whole. They're always paired together, and if he's not physically fighting, I think it's hard to get that across. Like that's why Rocky 5 kind of like failed. It's not an official fight. He's not fighting. So it's a whole thing.
Fair.
What do you think, Nicole? You seem like you have something.
Yeah, I almost think they're probably going to go with the management theme, because the reason I say that is because after 3 movies, actually after 2 movies, they already made him retired. Like, why would you go through all that trouble to make him retired and help Duke with the boxing gym if you weren't going to also throw in a protege? And you already kind of saw that a little bit with him taking Felix under his wing, and in a sense, Damien under his wing, even though he just wanted the opportunity. It was less about being trained, because he already kind of knew what he was doing, and he didn't want to be trained. He didn't want to learn the rule book, and he, wanted to fight how he fights, to be on the top of the world. He was out to hurt people, but I could see Adonis as a character being more of a Rocky mentor, and maybe that would have like flashbacks to things Rocky taught him. More of an opportunity to get Sly back, even though he probably won't. He probably won't come back, but
It's like
Stallone needed a way to come back. I think that if they cameoed him like that, that would make sense, and that would also make sense for the plot. They can't have him. I can't think of an opponent who wouldn't sound ridiculous, because they already did Ghost of the Past ×2, and then living up to who my father is. Like where else would you go?
the only thing that I think they could do is something with Amara. They're gonna do something with Amara because they're already setting that up.
There's 2 directions. It's management or Amara.
Maybe she like sucks. Maybe she's like a really bad fighter. And she doesn't have the talent, and she does. But she puts in the work ethic.
Adversity of her being deaf is going to be a thing too. So
That's fair.
I don't know how.
Can deaf people fight in like an official boxing ring thing? I don't know. I feel like you have to kind of like.
Would it help
Some
them?
of it is sound. It would definitely help. I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Hearing.
Maybe that's why they did the whole tunnel vision thing too, where because they're not hearing anything, they're just seeing their opponent.
Yeah,
that's
true,
another direction
true.
they could go with that too. I don't know. Just
You've-
kind of thematically seems
Right?
interesting.
Don't you also have like heightened senses when you're like, if you have 4 of the 5 main senses, like
I know your eyesight is better. Like how like Daredevil's, he's blind. Obviously, his hearing
hearing
way
is
better.
better,
But
yeah.
that's just like an exaggeration of what actual blind people have.
Yes.
I could see them doing something with Amara, but my hope is that it's 2 things. First off, it'd be very much like the first one, because Amara would have to live up to, her father's expectations, which is very much the first one. But you would have to spin it on its head somehow and make
Yeah.
it different. Because then we're just seeing a lesser version of Creed 1.
Yep.
And then 2, that's already kind of a movie in, like we referenced this the 3rd time now, $1 Million Baby. Like the only boxing movie that has a woman boxer and has a very old mentor. But
He was super old back then. Like,
but that movie had way more of a plot. That movie, because she's not Clint Eastwood's daughter in that movie. She's her own person who was poor and had to save up money just to fight at that gym. And then she warms up to him, and he takes her under his wing finally. But that's already kind of a movie, and it's a well done movie at that.
This movie overall is going to make a lot of people happy. Not me.
I'm happy.
But I definitely was entertained by this movie. Just the writing, man. Just the writing was great in spots, horrid in others. But it is what it is, and I'm going to give this movie a 74.
Yeah, I liked it a lot better than you.
I know you did.
I was really
I was definitely entertained.
attached to the whole villain arc thing. I really like that. I think it's like they mixed, they did like Rocky 3 over again in a more. I mean, because all Rocky 3 was really missing was the emotional connection, to Rock,
I'm saying that as if I've seen the movie.
Wait, but didn't wasn't part of the emotional beat of Rocky 3 that Adrian's brother dies, Paulie, and Paulie die in 3?
No, Paulie's in Rocky Balboa. He's in the sixth one.
So
He shows up really
Mick
old.
dies in 3.
Mickey
Mick
has
dies
like a
in 3,
heart
yeah.
attack on outside of the ring or something. But like it doesn't really have any. It's not like Mr. T or Clubber Lang killed him.
That's fair. Yeah, that's true.
But like this one is like Donnie did something to Dame, and it comes back. So it's like they really did that whole kind of arc where it's like scrappy boxer up against heavyweight champion who's all polished and maybe soft. I'm gonna give this like an 80, 82. Because I just like it a lot.
No,
Jonathan Majors is great.
And I'm not saying I hated this movie. Like, the saving grace was the acting. Saving grace was the acting and Michael B. Jordan's style? Question mark?
See, I don't think it's a full
risks,
style
maybe?
yet.
Exactly. So he has some cool things. There are definitely some really cool things that he added to the genre. Cool things that he can hopefully add in the future or add upon. But it is what it is. It's a great start for him.
Mm-hmm.
I would go 87.
87.
Yeah, so higher than even Danny. Because I think Damien as a character was so strong. The only thing that faulted that was the plot in some points. I would agree that it was spotty, predictable. I called the same things that you called, Dan, with, that was fixed.
Yep.
Yeah,
They needed that segue.
You like nudged me. You're like, oh, I bet you this happens, and then you did the same thing to me.
Yeah.
On the other side.
I would go 87. I think that his risks paid off where there was attention to, like you were saying earlier, Danny, but some missed opportunities in fleshing out certain parts of the script. It kind of fell flat. Overall, very entertaining.
This one is on the same level as the second one to me. I don't know if it's any better or any worse. I can't really say that because I've only seen all three of them once now. So, but the first one is definitely the best still of all three of them. First Creed is fantastic.
Okay, Ryan, jeez.
What, do you think this one's the best one?
Yeah, I do like this one the best so far. I'll have to rewatch. I did rewatch Creed 1, so I already know that I like this one more than Creed 1.
That one had the emotional impact in it that just hit, and then I was like, it was great.
I'll admit that montage where he's running down the street, that hits. Mm-hmm. But then it also gets kind of cheesy right after because he's like go like this, and then like our four-wheelers are like circling around him, and like there's like a
that was
camera.
okay.
I'm like,
it was a modern take on it.
It's a little weird.
It's a modern take, but like,
yeah.
I was so expecting in the third one when he ran up that famous hill in LA. I thought for sure I was waiting for him to stick his hands up, and he didn't.
Oh, do the
Rocky, but he
missed
didn't.
opportunity.
Again.
I think that would have been perfect. Yeah.
all right. Well, we're seeing it before. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok with the handle @SeenItBeforecast. That's SCENE It and on Twitter with the handle SIB_pod. I'm Dan.
I'm Danny. Check out the CGs right there. Kylie, would you like to plug anything?
You're not going to say your line?
No, I say it all the time.
Oh, man. All right. Pat, would you like to plug anything? Any social medias or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I have a film Twitter. You could check it out below. And I also have a Letterboxd, which I am on way too much. But it helps me write reviews and think analytically to be on shows like this. So I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
No, you definitely had some really good knowledge of this movie and a lot of good insight.
Thank you.
So thank you for being on as usual. Don't forget to check us out for our hopeful live stream of the Oscars in a few days now. But yeah, and then after that, we got
65.
65. That's right. My roommate's gonna be on there. He's a big dinosaur head. He's been on before. What are you doing? What's that face?
Well, no, he always ditches me for sushi. He's always like, first sushi of the month. I'm like, yo, I love sushi. Like every time, like you must have lost my invite up your ass, right? Like,
all right.
Whatever,
Anyway, 65 Oscars live stream, hopeful, and yeah, we'll see you next time. It's been an honor as usual.